Tyler, I felt like I witnessed a miracle yesterday.
You saw the sun?
I saw the Lions win.
Oh, that's about as much.
In an incredible way. I was like watching the end of the game. I'm like, they're going to lose it. Holy cow.
It was the classic Lions. They're going to go down the field and they're either going to shoot themselves in the foot, or the referees or some other circumstance is going to come up and it's going to be a crazy end that more or less screws them out of a win in that situation, and they somehow made it work despite the penalty that was called on the touchdown that could have potentially made that extra point a lot more difficult for Matt Prater, although he's pretty much automatic. And it was a great drive, and Matthew Stafford was incredible on that last drive. I've always been a Stafford apologist, but I mean, after that drive, there's less than 2 minutes in the game. You got to march all the way down the field with 0 timeouts remaining. Your guys like Hawkinson make a couple of mistakes and keep the clock running. You have a situation where they do a booth review that puts the running clock on you as you have to spike the ball with no timeouts, and could have screwed you over. And
I thought for sure it was going to come back.
That's what I thought too.
No good.
And then here he goes and still makes it happen despite being under duress on the last play. Put some respect on Matthew Stafford's name.
He earned his money yesterday.
Exactly. He did.
It was an incredible game, I have to say. I've come up with, I think, the theme song for every Lions fan out there is Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Sure.
Because it's just like that, right? Just when you're like, it's the Lions. And they should have won that game yesterday.
And much like South Detroit, the Lions' chances of winning a playoff game are completely imaginary.
Right. Oh, my goodness, though. But it was a great game. Definitely a great game. A little bit of boost in the spirits of the Lions fans and all the people across Metro Detroit and beyond, because I felt like we needed it. And while they should have won the game earlier, it was a spectacular way to win the game, even more so when you thought they were going to lose. So congratulations to the Lions as well. But how was Friday Night Football?
It was a pretty good game. It was a very defensive matchup for most of it, but it ended up the second half was all West Bloomfield, and they once again shut out another team. That's 3 consecutive games that they've shut out their opponents. They've now scored 110 consecutive points and have gone 12 consecutive quarters without allowing a point. So they're going into the playoffs. They're playing Utica Ford at home on Friday this week to kick off the playoffs, and they're coming in with a really tough defense and an offense that's starting to click. And their first round matchup this week is against a 1-5 team. Of course, everybody makes the playoffs this year. And even though Utica Ford is a 1-5 team, don't necessarily sleep on them, because the number 1 seed in our district in this playoff, Stevenson, they came in to that game against Utica Ford a couple weeks ago, or last week actually, and Utica Ford barely lost that game. They lost by 3 points. So that's to the number 1 team in the district. We're the number 2 team in the district, and so if they can put up a fight against Sterling Heights Stevenson, then they can certainly put up a fight against us. But that being said, West Bloomfield's really clicking coming into playoff time, and that's exactly the time that you want to be playing your best football.
Tyler, I love it when you talk sports talk. I will tell you a lot of that went right over my head. I'm like, okay, what was the ending score?
28-0. That's all I need. I know my audience.
But that's great. I always say Tyler needs his own sports show, because he is definitely passionate about sports and knows everything right off the top of his head as well. Hey, Tyler, take a look at yourself in the cameras. I'm like, this is the Halloween edition.
I don't know what's going on. Like I changed the color temperature on this light, and it just stays a little red. I mean, it's inspiring evil in me, Ronnie.
It looks a little spooky for those that are just listening on the radio.
It's intentional.
It's
intentional. I'm the spooky co-host.
Exactly. You know, Halloween's this weekend. Right. Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in with us on this Monday morning here on Civic Center TV. As you know by now, this show kind of grew and was birthed out of the pandemic way back at the end of March. Thought it would maybe be a few weeks, learned and just like stretched into.
It's the longest few weeks I've ever experienced.
But you know what? Isn't that how we all feel right
Yeah.
now about COVID as well?
Exactly.
It's like it's stretched into the longest ordeal that we have been through, because back in the beginning they said, oh, it's going to be a couple weeks, and then a couple months, and now we are 7 months into it. And the focus and the purpose of this 7 months into it is, while we are all tired of COVID-19 is not tired of us. The pandemic is still here, the virus is still real, and it still is impacting pretty much every facet of our lives. So here on the Oakland County Megacast, what we aim to do is to bring you all the latest information and long-form interviews as well from so many people here in the greater West Bloomfield area, Oakland County, and beyond, as to not only how they are handling and surviving this crisis, but also if people can help, how they can help, but also giving you the latest news straight from the people that are helping to make those decisions. And with that, if you want to find out the latest headlines, you can click on civiccentertv.com, go to the coronavirus tab, and right there we will post the big headlines of the day to make everything easy for you. And one of those, which I'm surprised this really, Tyler, hasn't been getting more play in the media since it began, because this has been really one of the big issues, is that COVID-19 in the prisons. It's been an ongoing problem. But right now, the coronavirus has torn through a prison in Marquette, infecting 75% of the more than 1,000 men housed there since the pandemic started back in March. 42% of the 327 employees at Marquette Branch Prison in the UP have tested positive for COVID-19. That was as of Friday. And a recent surge in infections led to a staffing shortage so dire that the Michigan Department of Corrections brought in employees from other prisons and transferred more than 200 Marquette prisoners to another facility. Again, it's so hard to try to control this virus in these close settings, because while they are taking precautions, some of these prisons are already overstaffed, and we know back in the beginning they were trying to release some of the non-violent prisoners, or some of the ones as well that were maybe coming to the near other prison terms, but it's still an issue and still impacting not just the prisoners but the staff as well.
Yeah, and this is an ongoing problem, as you said, that's continuing to take a toll in the prisons. It seems like this is a story that recurs every couple of months, and we end up talking about again, because there's only so much that you can do, but clearly not enough is being done, either to prevent overcrowding or understaffing, and at the same to prevent there from being a situation where people are not able to keep their social distance from people. Maybe you got to space things out a little bit more, not have it as crowded of active time, and try to keep people's distance from each other as best as is possible. And clearly something has not been figured out there to prevent continuous outbreaks at these prisons.
Yeah, not just the prisons, because right now, of course, the big news being talked about all over the weekends. So the state released the latest numbers of COVID-19 cases. They come out on Saturdays. They're not doing Sundays any longer. And there's been a huge spike in the number of cases here in the state of Michigan. We lost 35 more people to the virus, and 3,300 more have tested positive. That's according to Saturday's update from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Saturday's update is the highest daily count the state has reported in recent days. Now, remember back in mid-October, they had over 2,000 cases, but that was just simply they didn't report all the cases the previous day, so they added them together. So this is one of the largest numbers that we've seen since way back in April. And our positivity rate right now is 5.39%. So we have been below 5, and at times almost dipping below 4%. And that is out of the 5,300 test results that were returned Friday. So one of the things with this, obviously, the governor is on her media blitz right now saying, if we don't get this under control, this could impact us in a big way in the economy, and they could move us back down to phase 3.
Yeah, it's an ongoing and rising issue. If you're looking at that article on our website on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, more than the number of cases and the record number of cases in the single day that we saw there, with that over 2,000 cases reported. The thing that's really concerning to me in that article is the positivity rate now being at 5.39% in there, because for a while there, we were getting really close to breaking that 3% positivity rate plane, which is, if you're under there, you're at a very low chance of any sort of community spread, and you have the virus pretty much under control. And Michigan was right on the cusp of that just about a month or two ago, and now here we are back at a positivity rate that last week was hovering around 4%, and now it's well over 5% in these latest tests. And that's the biggest concern, is that you're going to have a lot more cases when you're doing as much testing as Michigan's doing, as much as every other state seems to be doing at this point in time in the pandemic. But when your positivity rate is rising, that's where you have the cause for concern, because then that, if nothing else, is the best evidence you have that precautions that are being taken either aren't being taken seriously enough, or are not effective enough, and something else has to be added or changed to reduce that rate from going up, to prevent that rate from going up, or better yet, reduce it altogether.
And, well, one of the things we obviously know, a lot of people just don't want to wear a mask right now, or they're just out more, or they're in closed areas. And so imagine being on this flight. There was a flight that was delayed because a passenger did not want to wear their mask. So the flight was 8:03. It was flying out of Detroit Metro on its way to Las Vegas. And it was delayed about 90 minutes because a passenger refused to comply with Delta Airlines face mask requirement. Now, of course, we've heard this happening before as well. It's not the first time. In fact, back in September, there was another passenger that refused to wear a face mask, so that flight was on its way to Los Angeles. It returned to the gate after the passenger refused to put on that mask. Delta Airlines instituted coronavirus-related policies requiring customers and employees to wear a mask. Customers with underlying conditions who can't wear a mask are required to complete a clearance to fly process. I also heard on the news right now that, remember those no-fly lists that came out? It's been like, 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
If you were deemed a security risk, then you were put on a no-fly list. And now they're saying some of these passengers that are refusing to wear a mask, their names are going to be added to that list as well.
And I think that's due punishment, because you know going in that Delta Airlines and other airlines like it have those regulations in place. That's required by the state that you're in, and many of the states that you're traveling to wear a mask when you're in public, and being on a plane is a public place. And your refusal to wear a mask, A, shows that you have zero respect for the people around you, and B, that you don't respect the rules that are in place. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, if they don't care about the mask rule, what other rules don't they care about when they're getting on these planes? And there's reason to believe you could be a flight risk. Is it a bit of a stretch to call someone that doesn't want to wear a mask a flight risk long term? I think so, but during the course of the pandemic, I think that it's right that if they're not going to wear a mask, they shouldn't be able to fly.
Here's a silver lining that's coming out of the pandemic. The Michigan hospitals are raising pay to $15 an hour to fill some job openings. Thousands of Michigan's lowest paid hospital workers received pay increases this month when two of the state's largest hospital systems set a new $15 per hour minimum wage. It's a nod to increased competition for entry-level workers as the state faces a resurgence of COVID-19 and hospitalizations. The announcements by Henry Ford Health Systems and Trinity Health followed months during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the virus shined a light on inequities facing workers like janitors, food service workers, and security guards. They are on the front lines. They're very much heroes in this pandemic and this crisis. They deserve that increased pay. But one of the things, the hospitals right now are having a hard time filling these jobs because people, maybe they don't want to be expose themselves as well as their family members to the coronavirus, which they feel they would do so working in a hospital type setting. And because so many other industries are also desperately looking for employees, the low income type jobs are in the same price or pay range. They're looking for employees as well. I mean, Amazon is hiring like crazy. Plus, you drive up and down any major roadway, you go up and down Orchard Lake Road, you'll see help wanted signs everywhere, but these are all the lower paying jobs. So this is one way the hospital is trying to get an edge in that competitive field.
Yeah, simple principles of competition apply here, because people that are out of work, they want to seek work, but is it worth their time to abandon their unemployment checks for low-paying jobs that are going to give them less coming in than they would from their unemployment checks, in order to compete with that and to get people to fill these jobs, especially people that are looking for work but maybe are going to have to work outside of their career field in these jobs? They're not going to want the low-paying jobs. They'd rather sit back and wait for the right position to open up and keep collecting their unemployment while they still can, take that risk, then go to these jobs. So what do you got to do to bring people in? If you really need to bring them in and your need for these employees is greater than your desire to keep the wages at an economic rate for your company, you're going to have to raise the per hour or salaried wage to make it enticing to these people, and that's what we're seeing right now with some of these hospitals.
So you'll find those headlines as well as links to all the resources that you need right there on civiccentertv.com. Click on coronavirus. There's a link to the CDC as well as the state of Michigan, Oakland County, and all of our local communities as well. So we have a great show ahead of you here on this Monday to start the day off. We are going to be speaking with the executive director over at the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. They have an exciting event going on this week. She'll fill us in on that, as well as how you can sign up and take part of that as well. It's going to be a virtual event. Then we'll be speaking with Pastor Barry Randolph. He is with the Church of Messiah in the city of Detroit. If you've never met Pastor Barry, he is a person who gets things done. But their church does so much more than just relying and helping people in the religious sense. They are also a huge advocate for so many people in the city of Detroit with housing, job search, you name it, they do it. So Pastor Barry Randolph will be with us, and then we'll be speaking with the CEO and the founder of the E-Community Outreach Services about all of the great things that they're doing to try to help the community here in the city of Pontiac. Bob Roberts, he's the president of the Corktown Business Association, will be joining us in the second hour of the Oakland County Megacast, and we'll round out the show talking with Dave Dulio, the professor of political science and director of Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. Always great to have him on the show, get his insight on the last debate. We are 8 days until the election. I am counting down. I'll be so happy when these ads are off the air.
I'll be happy when we're just out of this. It's too contentious. It's getting too contentious. It's every other second we're hearing something about it. It just needs to be over for all of our sakes. We're already going crazy with COVID. Let's not give ourselves anything more to drive us nuts.
Exactly. So a great lineup for you here on the Monday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll get the show started with Suzanne Levine.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards. Back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Great to have you with us on the Monday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, you can catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. If you're surfing on your remote control, you can dial us in there. If you're out driving around, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. Or you can also catch us on Facebook. Our partner today is the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce, so we want to say thank you to them as well for having us as their Facebook partner of the day. And with that, we're excited to bring in Suzanne Levine. She's the Executive Director for the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. Always great having you with us here on the show, Suzanne. And I will say, you've had no break during this crisis, have you?
No, I haven't. It's been challenging, but also very rewarding because I've been really trying to connect some of our businesses to make sure that they not only survive, but that they can thrive in the future.
And Suzanne, I know you all have a big event coming up this week, VI.B.E, and we'll get to that in just a second, but I do want to kind of touch on, we're seeing a surge of cases here in the state of Michigan. There is a big concern as the governor is making her media rounds, basically warning everyone in the state of Michigan, if this continues, we may have to go back down to phase 3 and another shutdown. Knowing that and hearing that, how concerned are you for so many of the businesses here in the Greater West Bloomfield area?
Well, I'm very concerned because many of the businesses have already told me they're not sure if they could survive another shutdown. So, we're trying to encourage everyone to, practice social distancing and wear masks and be as safe as possible. But I also know from speaking to community people that people are kind of tired of being locked down. And I don't know if they're going to really comply with another lockdown. So I think there's this sort of cavalier attitude that, well, if I get it, I get it. It doesn't seem to be as deadly. So it is a concern. I think we have to just keep trying to impress upon people that regardless if they believe if the masks work or not, that it's just a sign of respect for everyone to please wear them.
That is so true. And what you're saying there, because like you said, so many of these businesses are not going to be able to survive a second shutdown. And with that though, Suzanne, I know you guys have a great event going on this week that you're kicking off alongside Motown Digital, which of course helps us out here at Civic Center TV as well. Can you tell us more about it? And I also have to know exactly what is in front of you. What's the monkey thing there?
Oh, it's Speak No Evil, which is our thing.
That's our theme right now, right?
That's right. I think we all need to try to remember that since there is so much anger and conflict and, so much going on where families aren't even speaking. So I've been really, trying to be grateful every morning that I woke up, grateful attitude is gratitude. But I think, we all have to be mindful that we're all, whether we like it or not, we're all in this together. So one way or another, we need to survive the pandemic and the political animosity and, hopefully become a stronger and more unified country.
Those are wise words and great words to live by as well. So let's jump into VI.B.E. Tell us exactly what it is and can people still sign up?
Absolutely. VI.B.E. is free. It's a virtual innovative business event, and it was born out of the concept that every year our chamber has all these signature events, our leadership, our health fair, our networking, and Dave Scott over there, who is very innovative and talented, said, why don't we do one huge virtual event? So it's a 2-day event, October 28th and 29th, and it's jam-packed full of great speakers, everything from Dr. Ann Chen, who's going to talk about the different demystifying healthcare during COVID. What's the difference between COVID and flu and colds, and when do you seek medical attention? And we have some fun segments like the hottest toy trends. We have a great speaker who's head over at Yammer, which is the Microsoft division, talking about workplace trends in the future, how all these big corporations have decided to do, more like workplace, more work from home as opposed to office. And how does that bode for the workforce? We have Lauren Azuri, the Park Natural Supervisor, who's going to do a fun DIY, pumpkin decoration. But then we have some serious topics. Eli Zira is going to talk about grief is love lost. Unfortunately, he lost his daughter several years ago, but talks about how we're all grieving in one capacity, whether it's because of loss of job, loss of loved ones, loss of income, whatever it may be, and how do you survive this? We have everyday mindfulness from Julie Levinson, because I think it's really important to take a few minutes out of every day and just do some breathing techniques and, kind of regroup, be present and be thankful for the things that we do have. So it's incredible. It's www.vibe.motowndigital. Anyone can, attend. In fact, we're encouraging everyone to attend because there's even Halloween stories and songs during dinner time, so the parents can put the kids in front of the computer and give them a few minutes break while they get entertained. And we have a really fun pet contest, which I personally am entering. And so, I'm not trying to do any quid pro quo there. But people should send in their pictures. There's all different categories. It's really fun. We know that we all think that our pets, just like our kids, are the cutest and smartest. There's just so much of this 2 days that it's, they can go to our website and they'll see a schedule, and they should, they can even, join in on the last day or during the event. We're really expecting, quite a crowd. There's breakout sessions, there's main stages, there's virtual exhibits. It's basically like going to a virtual conference where you have so many choices. So we're really hoping the whole community engages.
So, Suzanne, what are you dressing your pet up with? Do you have a cat or a dog first?
I have a beloved dog, Louie, who I wish it could be based on personality because we would win. He's just as neurotic as I am. He's an emotional eater, and his bark is much worse than his bite.
That is so funny. And so you said it's free, or how is this working right now?
Free. It's all free. So anyone can attend. We want the entire community, and that's why we have things for people of all ages. We have a lot of senior things. We have someone talking about cognitive behavior changes. What's the difference between I can't remember where I put my keys and something that's, a sign of Alzheimer's or dementia? We have a conflict cleanse, which almost sounds like an oxymoron, but Gabe Karp, who's a partner in Detroit Venture Partners, which is a huge group that gives away money for entrepreneurs and helps them. He's going to talk about how conflict can be harnessed in a positive way to change a culture. So we really could use that right now, since we know there's so much conflict going on. So it's free. Anyone can sign up at any time. They can go to our website, westbloomfieldchamber.com, to get more information. They can contact me at the chamber, 248-626-3636, or email me at wbloomfieldchamber@gmail.com, or go to the Motown Digital website, or again, vibe.motowndigital.com, and sign up and enter the pet contest. And the first 100 people to sign up are going to get a swag bag, so we'll contact them where to pick it up. So this is really like all of our events rolled into one, but it's free. So that's what's so great about it. Consumers Energy, HAP, is going to talk about Medicare because we know that this is open enrollment season right now. Dr. Maureen Anderson from Beaumont's going to talk about how stress really can affect your overall health. We just have so many different topics, from health to leadership to community to fun stuff. So there's really something for everyone, and we don't expect people to stay on the whole time, but certainly they can hop in, which is the platform. They can hop in and hop off and get some really valuable information. And actually, we're going to have some networking in there, so we can actually connect them to some meaningful partners that they didn't even know existed out there.
That is great, because we all need to connect during this time and help lift one another up. Suzanne Levine with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She's the executive director in the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. So, Suzanne, I may be tech illiterate sometimes, I will say. So I signed up for this last week. I got my email, but I've been on the website and I can't find the schedule. Which link do they click on to actually get the schedule? I see the like the program itself, but not the day of schedule. And will these be recorded? So if someone can't attend maybe a particular one that they want to, can they go back and watch it later?
Absolutely. The schedule should be up no later than today. So I apologize for that. We had some last minute changes, so we wanted to make sure it was as up to date and complete as possible. And yes, I know I spoke with Dave, and I think not only we're going to put some of these on YouTube, but I think he's going to put a lot of them on the Megacast. So there'll be more information forthcoming about that. We're doing some Facebook live streaming that day of, and I think he's even going to be showing some of it on Civic Center TV. I don't want to overcommit, but I think, I think that's what the game plan is, because I know in some of the senior assisted places, they really wanted to watch this. So I think we're going to have a way for them to watch it on TV, especially the ones that, have some meaning to them, like Lynn Brewer, who's the Director of Community Outreach for JFS, who's going to talk about the difference, as I say, between what are normal cognitive behavior changes and some signs to watch out for.
Suzanne Levine joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the Executive Director of the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce, our Facebook partner today, and the host of the Virtual Innovative Business event, which is VI.B.E, which we'll be showing some of it here on Civic Center TV and on Lakes FM Wednesday and Thursday this week. VI.B.E.motowndigital.com. You can sign up for free. And Suzanne, you mentioned all the annual events from the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce that, of course, weren't able to go on this year. I think about the health fair. I think about the Key to the Township Awards and so many other things that your organization does in the community to celebrate the community and inform the community. And then you also partner with organizations like West Bloomfield Parks and Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital and, of course, the West Bloomfield Fire Department, all of whom also lost a lot of these informative and community-engaging events. In planning VI.B.E, how important was it from the Chamber's perspective and just from a general community perspective to get all these organizations involved to be able to inform the community and entertain the community as well during these difficult times that we're in?
Well, I think it's critically important because I know that a lot of our chamber members and community people have been contacting me and asking, is there anything that they can see or be part of or participate in? Because, people are really, they want information beyond just COVID. And they want to be entertained. And so Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital is one of our most important partners. They're the largest employer of people in this area. So we always love to partner with them. But we also have other partners that, like West Bloomfield Parks and Rec, the West Bloomfield Fire Department, that we went out and we shot a segment about fire safety and things that you don't even think about, like your dryer or your dishwasher, or when you leave something on the stove that I think you said is something like 75% responsible for home fires. How many times have we left something on the stove and then got distracted for a minute and the next thing you know, the smoke detector goes off? So just really important information. And plus this is great because, yes, there's some critical information that we're offering, like cybersecurity and brain health and healthy movement, but there's also some fun stuff like a DIY pumpkin and green practices. And, we have a happy hour at Jay Alexander's that he's going to mix a drink for us. I wanted to call it the J Vibe, so we'll see what drink he comes up with. We have a really great live cooking demonstration from Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital's demonstration kitchen. And also someone talking about those pandemic pounds, which I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. So I think it's really important. The library has provided us with an early childhood specialist who's going to, tell some stories and sing some songs. I think people want to be entertained as well as have a little bit of distraction from these very, very challenging, conflicting times.
So, Suzanne, with that, exactly when will some of these virtual events begin and when will they end?
So on Wednesday, they'll start at 2 o'clock. We'll start to kick it off. My good friend Luke Raj from Fox 2. And I know we have Mitch Albom, which is great. Charlie Langton is going to be doing a cup of Charlie, so you can ask any question you want on Thursday. So on Wednesday, it's from 2 to 8 p.m. We have live entertainment. Also to end the program on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. I think it starts at 7:15 to 8. Some musical entertainment. And on Thursday, it's from 9 to 1. As I say, we try to get a huge variety of information from health, leadership, community, and fun stuff. I think the Cup of Charlie will be really interesting because if you know Charlie Langton, he's quite a character. And we're going to be asking questions, questions that people want to know, like, why does the media only cover certain stories? And, talk a little bit about media bias, but also do some of the hardest stories he's ever covered or the most fun. So that should be, we want everyone to ask questions, and I don't think too much throws him.
That is for certain. I've known Charlie for years, and I will tell you that. Suzanne Levine with us here on the Oakland County Megacast, the Executive Director for the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. So you can catch the VI.B.E. October 28th, 29th, and all you have to do, it's going to be free, just sign up. Go to VI.B.E.motowndigital.com. Go ahead and register. You'll get an email, or you can also contact the West Bloomfield Chamber as well. So good luck on the event. It's you definitely have a lot of guests. It's going to be action-packed, and while it's going to be virtual, it's not going to be your typical Zoom virtual meetings that so many people are used to. I really believe that going forward, some of these virtual platforms such as this are going to be sticking around for us because it does open the doors for so many more people to be able to attend these conferences and really just to gain the knowledge that needs to be shared. So I think it is stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Suzanne, thank you so much for being with us. We always appreciate your time.
To Motown Digital and Civic Center TV and all the great people that work there, because without you, none of this would be possible. So thank you for all the community organizations that you serve, that sometimes you're the unsung heroes of this entire time.
Well, thank you so much for that. And Dave Scott and the team over at Motown Digital, they're a little bit separate from us here at the studio, but they are doing amazing things and working around the clock to pull this off. So kudos to them. It's an important event. And once again, it's just trying to re-energize and reinvent your business or even yourself, and you can take advantage of that as well. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with Pastor Barry Randolph. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And Step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for being with us on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl, here in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, alongside the one, the only Tyler Keefe. We are excited to bring in the next individual. If you have never met Pastor Barry Randolph or been to the Church of Messiah in the city of Detroit, if you want to lift your heart and lift your faith in humanity, visit Church of Messiah, because they are doing so many amazing things for so many people, and they do it on a shoestring budget. Pastor Barry, thank you for being with us. It's always great to speak with you. I wish I could see you, or I could see you, but you can't see me. That's how the Zoom thing works here on Civic Center TV. But Pastor Barry, for those that aren't familiar with Church of Messiah, bring us up to speed. What do you guys have going on there?
Wow. So first...
Well, you really need a couple hours for that, but give us the condensed version.
Thank you for having me on the show. And anytime you ask me anything, Ronnie, I'm coming on. And I think this is a great opportunity to be able to tell you the good things that's going on in Detroit. So really quick rundown of Church of the Messiah. We are a community-based church, and we believe in making the Word of God tangible. So we have a mixed race congregation that is Black, white, Latino, and Asian. Our congregation is 60% Black male under the age of 30. And I'd say 70% of the congregation is under the age of 40. So we have a lot of young people here. But here we believe in making the Word of God tangible. So we have 213 units of affordable housing that was built by the church through Church of the Messiah Housing Corporation, which is a separate 501c3 from the church. We have our own employment office where we can find anybody a job, primarily those who were formerly incarcerated. We are the internet provider for our community and neighborhood. So you have Comcast, AT&T, and Church of the Messiah. And we give our internet to people who cannot afford the internet. We also have a tea beverage company, which is in 94 stores across the state, including all the Whole Foods. In the state of Michigan, Zingerman Bakehouses, Avalon Bakery. You can even now find it in local gas stations. So the tea beverage company is doing very well. We have a candle company, bow tie company, video production company. We have a clothing line. And we just do a slew of things to help people to change their lives. So when we bring you the good news, we give you the resources that can help you change your life. The other thing that we're doing that is major at Church of the Messiah is what we call the Master's Plan. The Master being God, and the plan is to build the kingdom of God on earth, duplicating the work of Church of the Messiah. We're now working with 103 churches in Detroit. And then we have chapters that we're working with in Flint, Battle Creek, and Highland Park. But we're also working in Cincinnati, Toledo, and Cleveland. And then we're working in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, Uganda, in Africa, and Malawi, and Latvia in Europe. So we've been busy.
You have definitely been busy. A global operation there. Pastor Barry, your church is all about community. How has it been going for you and the members of your congregation and so many of the people right there in the neighborhood during this pandemic? Are you having services inside at all?
No. So we just had our most frigid service yesterday out in the parking lot. That was also the shortest service. I think we did it in about 45 minutes in churches, ordinarily an hour. So we won't be opening the doors up for the actual service because we have hundreds of members. and we cannot safely bring in those many people. And even with our outdoor service, we changed the time from 12 to 10 o'clock, knowing everybody wouldn't come at 10, just so we wouldn't get extremely large groups of people, even outdoors. We have to be cautious. So we've been doing a lot of Zoom and video chats.
So how was that look going into the winter months?
God only knows. So far is going pretty well because we have a lot of people who are into technology. So that's going really, really good. But we are working with a lot of different people towards getting them into learning the internet. So that's most of our seniors in the church and in the community and neighborhood so that they can follow along with the services.
Pastor Barry Randolph with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He is with the Church of the Messiah in the Detroit area. And Pastor, many people probably don't know this either. You actually left the business world to become a pastor. And since then, you're more than a pastor. You're a champion of people. But you are doing it on a shoestring budget. You list everything that you're doing there at the church. But yes, a lot of that is blossom, it's coming to life out of the basement of the church and the programs that you're running out of the church. How are you doing all of that? Are you still able to keep the lights on? What is that like? Because the church is not a new church.
No, the building is 119 years old. So it's in a very old building that is not in the best of shape, but we do the best that we possibly know how. Most of the people here are volunteers in order to help change the lives of people, including me as the pastor of the church. I don't get paid. I understood that going in, that we needed to get the work done, and that was the most important thing. So a lot of people knew that we were doing this basically as volunteers, and it's brought in other people, but it did bring a lot of resources. So foundations have come in and they have helped, and our businesses are doing pretty good. So that helps to keep the lights on and things going. So we're moving right along. And because we've always been a community church, it doesn't bother us so much of not being able to do a lot of stuff in the building, because we've been doing a lot of stuff in the community and neighborhood anyway. So we still get to do our ministry even though COVID is around. And it just magnified what it is that we're supposed to be doing in a community and neighborhood. So the work continues.
Pastor Barry Randolph with us. He is the pastor at the Church of the Messiah, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And Pastor, you mentioned earlier on one of the programs that the church is currently running is helping to get people in the community that either have not used technology and used the internet as much as others up to speed on how to use the internet and how to use those functions, seniors especially, during the time that we're in right now, where so much of what we are doing to communicate with others has to be virtual. How are you able to provide those services and those teaching opportunities and do so safely so that these people can communicate with their loved ones and their friends and with their community in a safe manner during the pandemic?
That's a great question. So a couple ways we do that. It helps to have a young congregation that's full of young people, because it's almost like they were born knowing how to do technology. So because we have a large group of young people who know how to use technology, and we have our own video production company, and we're the internet provider for Island View, that's the area where Church of the Messiah is, we have the largest concentration of seniors in Detroit. They live in 48207, 48214 on the east side of Detroit. So our young people, because they provide the internet, they have been providing the internet. The church has been providing a lot of our seniors with computers. And a lot of our young people have been literally teaching them how to get on the internet, how to use Zoom, how to be able to stay in contact. And it's been a wonderful intergenerational opportunity that, oddly enough, if it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't be doing it to the degree that we were, even though COVID is not a good thing at all. But it gave us a unique opportunity to be able to help people so they would not feel isolated. So it's been very useful. And I'm so grateful that we have the internet, that we're able to provide the internet for free if you live in the Island View community, that we can provide that for free and technical assistance with our young people who are really teaching the seniors how to be able to become computer savvy.
I love that you're able to do that. How were you even able to become the internet provider for that area, though? It seems like you're one of the only churches I've heard of doing that.
Yeah, so we got this opportunity through Allied Media, who came to us in 2013, and they loved the work that we were doing for the community. And they had this unique opportunity and this funding to be able to provide free internet services to 3 communities in Detroit. One being Island View, where Church of the Messiah is. The other one is WNUC Radio, which is in the North End. And then the other one is Grace Church, which is in Southwest Detroit. So they chose those 3 communities and used the 3 entities to be able to train people directly out of the community, primarily young people, how to install the internet, to be able to make a dent in the fact that 40% of the people in Detroit don't have the internet. So it was a unique opportunity, and believe me, we jumped on it.
And on top of that, I think if anything came out of the pandemic, it was understanding and seeing the inequities with internet service within our communities. And when you have kids that need the internet to be able to do their homework, then maybe this is going to be the good thing that comes out of that. And speaking about the kids, as well as them trying to learn during this pandemic, you have set your finger on the pulse of the community right there in your neighborhood. What are you hearing from parents? How are the kids doing right now during this?
Well, the kids are resilient. That's the part that's amazing. Anything is an adventure with them. So they're finding unique opportunities of being able to keep themselves occupied. And actually, the strange thing about it is a lot of the children are literally taking the time out to teach parents and grandparents all types of things on the computer, the internet, this, that, and the other. We found it a unique opportunity. And they're creating all types of videos, commercials, public service announcements. They're very resilient. So I think the parents and possibly some of the young adults are having a hard time finding the young people in Island View at least. They're resilient and they're finding creative ways to be able to get through this pandemic, even as they drive the parents crazy, but they're finding creative ways.
I think a lot of parents coming out of this understand exactly how important teachers are right now. So I know education is a cornerstone of so much of what you believe in there at Church of the Messiah. In fact, that's how Pastor Barry and I actually met. Someone had found a bottle in the water, and it had letters that kids had written to their dad who had passed away. They were trying to find the family and the kids to be able to return the letters. Through another pastor, he got my name. We tracked it down when I worked at Channel 7, and we were able to find that family. But on top of that, then they helped those children continue their education, because you're a huge advocate for education. And if you can just talk a little bit about what you've been doing to try to make sure kids from your neighborhood get to college, because it's amazing the feat that you all have been able to accomplish.
Wow, Ronnie, I almost forgot how we met each other, but it was that story. The other part of that story that was amazing, once you put on your investigative hat, we found out they lived 6 blocks away from Church of the Messiah.
Isn't that amazing?
It was amazing. They were right in the neighborhood. And that bottle was found on the Detroit River by a realtor who I had a meeting with to talk about acquiring some property. And he found it floating in the water and noticed the notes in it, and then took it out of the water. And while we were sitting there having lunch, he just stopped and said, "Let me tell you about these letters I found." And I immediately called somebody else who told me, "Call Ronnie Dahl." And immediately I called you. We found that family and we adopted that family. And also too, something that came from that is we have a marching band. That's one of the other ministries that we have here. Oddly enough, it's a ministry here. And we have a marching band. Currently, it has 84 kids in it. And through the marching band that we've had over 8 years, we've gotten over 409 kids in college through the marching band, because it really is a literacy program. The marching band is a front, but it literally is a literacy program. So the directors who actually run the program are all either teachers or professors who help the kids be able to get into college. So that literally started a whole nother ministry at Messiah. So currently we got kids going to school all over the country, and it's coming through that marching band. So literacy is really, really big here. And a lot of our kids are going to school on scholarships. That's just through the band. And then we got the regular programs at Church of the Messiah where we have the mentors to be able to help the kids get in school. It's been an amazing journey, especially over the last 8 years.
Pastor Barry here with us on the Oakland County Megacast. The one thing you do at your church is you're very real with these kids. You sometimes do a little tough love and a little tough talk with them as well to make them responsible for their own direction and their own futures as well, but you help guide them along the way. And Pastor Barry, these are tough times right now for churches and nonprofit organizations. So many are struggling because they haven't been able to have their big fundraisers. If I'm sitting, let's say I am in the suburbs, why should I care about the Church of the Messiah and the work that you're doing in the city of Detroit? How would that impact me here outside of the city limits?
Well, Detroit is the heart of Michigan. And if Detroit fails, so does every other city, county, region part of Detroit. Detroit goes, there goes the rest of the state. So it's important to keep the heart healthy. And Detroit has been to hell and back, and has been always able to bounce back. And I think that says something about not only the people in Detroit, but to the people in the suburbs and the people in the state who really do love Detroit in spite of all of the ills that it has to face through the decades. And I think many people who live in the suburbs and who live outstate, they actually really do love Detroit. And a lot of them are from Detroit. But Detroit has so many issues and so many challenges that sometimes just being able to keep your head above water makes it difficult in a city like Detroit. But there are people who are here who choose to be here, who choose to make sure that Detroit has what it needs. And I'm one of those people. And many of the people at Church of the Messiah are those people who have made a commitment to be able to stick it out and to be able to see the brighter days of Detroit. And Detroit is having brighter days. Things are happening. Things are moving. So this is a time where we actually have to look and say, you know what, we really do need each other in order to be able to pull this out. Detroit is not going to be able to do it alone. It's going to take all of us to be able to do it. And one thing I can honestly truly say is times like this, times like COVID that actually uncovers all of the ills of society, brings them to light, and then we shine a light on it, and then we're kind of surprised at all of the different people who show up and say, we care and we want to be a part. So there's great people in Detroit and in the state of Michigan, and we should all be proud of that.
So I'm always an advocate for you and your church and all the good work that you do, not just through your ministry, but also all of the work that you're doing in the basement there and trying to foster hope and futures for the kids as well as the people that live in our communities. And speaking about that, some people, maybe they did lose their jobs and they're looking for a purpose. So we have so many people with a lot of talent in the Metro Detroit area. If they want to maybe volunteer, if they're not in the position to actually donate money, if they want to volunteer, how can they get involved? And can you just highlight quickly too some of the work going on in the basement of the Church of Messiah?
Yeah, so we're open to volunteers. Many hands make light work, and it takes a little bit of all of us to be able to come together to be able to do this. So that's the part that's amazing, and more people are coming, and it is the greatest thing. We have many partnerships that is city and suburbs, and now people from across the country. But we do have a lot of churches and religious organizations following the Messiah's model of not being able to just open your mouth and preach, but also to be that good news. So a scripture that we live by is the kingdom of heaven is not mere words. It's a demonstration of power. So we also have to demonstrate the power of what it is that we believe. Detroit, or the neighborhood where Church of Messiah is, there was a lack of opportunity. So the church became the place to provide those opportunities, whether that was affordable housing, whether that was a business incubator, providing the internet, getting the kids to go to school or getting them in school, providing those opportunities. That's what we're good at. So in our basement, we have Nikki's Ginger Tea, which has been around for 21 years, 94 stores across the state. It's made in our commercial kitchen. The clothing line, Kill the Hate, is also made in the basement. It's being made. The clothes are manufactured and made at Church of the Messiah, and then they're sold at Nara Clothes, Detroit 313. But also, too, there is a Kill the Hate. That's the name of the clothing line the young man created. Kill the Hate. He's in the Fisher Building in the basement. It's called the Underground, and he sells the clothes there. Also, there's a candle company called Bright Creations, which is manufactured at Church of the Messiah, and it's sold in Eastern Market, the Water Station, Motor City Casino, and MGM Grand. So it's interesting that it's sold there, but the candles are made at Church of the Messiah. And then also, too, we have the video production company, and our young people run that video production company, and they do public service announcements, they do commercials, they do all kind of different things throughout the community and neighborhood. They even worked for National PBS a year or so ago. So that was absolutely a wonderful experience for them. So, and then we got other thoughts and ideas on building out other businesses. There's also a bike shop, and then there's the internet service, and all of that is in the basement of Church of the Messiah.
Speaking of bike, I have one in my basement I need to bring you guys as well. So if you have bikes sitting around your house right now, you can donate them and they will fix them up and have the kids help fix them up as well and teach them new skills. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Pastor Barry, just a couple more minutes here with you on the Oakland County Megacast. Anything else that we maybe didn't touch on that you want people to know about the Church of Messiah that maybe have not been exposed to everything that you're doing there?
Yeah, also, too, a couple other things, and I don't remember these ministries a lot. They're relatively new. But one, we do have a doctor's office. It's called the Village Clinic. So you can also see a doctor here. Because of COVID, the doctors are more in the field than they are in the building. And then we also provide some legal services, too. So it's an interesting concept. You could be able to come to church to rent an apartment or a townhouse. You can come see a doctor. You can see an attorney. You can get the internet service. You can start a business. You can get a new job. You can earn a bike and earn a computer. And at the same time, we believe in salvation in church. So one-stop shop.
And do you still have the secondhand resale shop?
Yes, we still have that too. And that's run by two young people, and they're 17 and 18 years old. And they run our resale shop. Because of COVID, we haven't been open per se, but their thing is in the summertime, they were taking the stuff outside and doing the social distancing resale shop outside. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, when COVID dies down, we will open that up again.
We hope COVID leaves us sooner rather than later. Before we let you go, Pastor Barry, leave us on a positive note. What do you think has been the big benefit that has come out of COVID-19 for the Church of Messiah?
I think the biggest benefit is COVID-19 actually literally raised the issues of the things that we thought we were paying attention to already. But it was magnified through things like the importance of education, the importance of being able to have affordable health care, the ability to be able to reinvent yourself, maybe even start your own business or be able to find another job. All of these things came to the surface, the needs of senior citizens and young people, and how, for us, especially as church, how church needed to leave the building. That we were not the building, that it was the people. COVID prevented us from being able to come into the building, so we had to take the church out into the neighborhoods, into the street. And I think that was the most important thing.
Pastor Barry, thank you for being with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. I need to get down to the church to visit you and your entire team there as well, because you guys are doing amazing things. And I'm glad to see that you're still thriving, still surviving, and still making such a huge difference for so many people there in the Detroit area as well as beyond. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we are going to be heading up Woodward Avenue and checking in with the E-Community Outreach Services. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Always great to have you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM with the one and the only Tyler Keefe. Just a reminder, you can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Catch us on Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. Tune us into the radio if you're out driving around, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, the BIF. Also, we want to say thank you to the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. They are live streaming today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on their Facebook page. So great to say hi to all of their Facebook followers today as well. And just a reminder, they have a great event coming up this week, Catch the VI.B.E. And if you want to register, it's a free event. It's aimed at re-energizing and reinventing, and it's a community virtual event that is going to bring industry leaders, health experts, social media gurus, entertainment, and so many other people together to try to help us continue to navigate this crisis that we are in. And so many people are still trying to navigate life in the middle of this crisis at a time when help is really greater than ever. One of those people trying to make a difference in our community is going to be Eisha Branner. She is the founder and CEO of Community Outreach Services in the city of Pontiac. So great to have you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. For those not familiar with your nonprofit, tell us all about it and what you aim to do there in the city of Pontiac.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I run a parent support organization that's geared around just providing support and resources to my families through case management, mentoring, and I run a social hour every other week for my families on Zoom right now.
And I would imagine right now, support is so important because if we cannot find someone to lean on, this can be a really dark time. So having that support is so important. What are you hearing from the families that are utilizing your services?
Oh, Lord. They're frustrated. A lot of them have kids that's in school virtually. They're not able to really understand that platform. So a lot of them can't go back to work right now because the kids are at home during the COVID-19 and the shutdown. A lot of them just terrified. They don't know. They don't know the unknown. Like later on down the line, like how long can they go with online school and how long can they go without working? How long can they go with the unknown? So a lot of them are they're just frustrated.
The uncertainty of this crisis is adding so much stress on so many of our lives right now. I will say for these parents that are trying to be keeping it all together at the same time, trying to help your kids with the virtual learning, trying to keep food on the table, and be up and keep a positive attitude in front of your kids has to be extremely stressful. So, every parent out there struggling with this, just know you're not alone, and it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And so when you say that you're supporting parents, tell us a little bit more about the programs and how they work.
Okay, so basically we use case management, which is, it's a referral only system, so that other organizations can refer their families, so we can give them like that one-on-one support. But on our website, we have a link where they can request for resources. So there's a lot of organizations that have resources and have funding, but we have a lot of families who are not aware of them. So they go on our website, they request a resource, and me and my team, we navigate through the other organization and our families to make sure that it's a quick and stress-free process. So how it goes, like I work with OSHA. OSHA has been one of the biggest supporters of our organization. They will provide the services to our families, and all we're doing is just connecting our families to that. So we have that part, and then I have a couple other team members that's doing virtual learning mentoring with the school. So we have partnered up with 2 schools right now, and then they'll refer kids to our organization where they can get that one-on-one support, as it relates to whether it's help with schooling, they're having little behavior issues, their attendance. And so as they get referred to our organization with the mentoring, I have a counselor on our team, and I have a case manager on my team. And we just support our families. We try to find out what it is that they need. Me being a parent, I know for a fact that, when you're frustrated, you're not really getting that help. You don't know where to turn to, because your mind is just so clouded up with, what do I do? Where do I go? It's like, we just come in, we got the schools, we got the case manager, and we haven't had the counselor to come in and say, hey, this is how you can deal with your stress. This is, some other resources you can help with. And we just all work together.
That is so important at a time like right now. I was on your website, and I know one of the things that your organization tries to do is to help address the poverty within the city of Pontiac and the greater Oakland County area. And explain to us a little bit more about attitude gap and what exactly that is and how some people can overcome it.
So in our organization, I grew up in this city. I had a parent who, dealt with the same struggles, challenges, and things like that. Me coming in and just learning about the different resources that they have, what we want to do, we want to not only connect our families to the resources, but we want to teach them how not to have to keep depending on resources, through budget, just through telling them that it's okay to, ask for help, but, try to set your life up to where you don't need that support. Not that you don't always need that support, but there's more to just depending on the system. Me coming up, I used to get assistance. I'm just one of those parents. I was the same type of parent that I work with now. I have a master's degree. I'm a business owner. I have a house full of children, but it's how you think about it. It's me. I know that I want better, so I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get better. I don't sit back and have this, this poor mentality. And so I try to push that on my families. And that's how our system is set up with our case management. As you come in and get resources from us, we're setting small goals. We're following up with you. We're connecting you with the right resources so they can have that same model that we're having. We're not trying to keep you in that same poverty mind. We want you to become more self-sufficient. Like, that's the main goal for us. It's like, we're going to connect you, but then we're going to also teach you how to be more independent. So you don't have to come back to us and say, hey, it didn't work. So we, help them with business. You want to be a business owner? We're going to support you with that. We've been working with Tamika Ramsey. She has a small business organization, and we are doing amazing work with our clients to where we don't have to, so they can be able to come in and say, hey, I want to start a business. I want to get more income. I don't want to have to keep coming back and depending on you guys to help us with that.
You are so important right now to the entire community. It's about breaking the cycle and learning to not be the victim, but taking ownership of your life and asking for help. It's okay to ask for help, because sometimes when you're in those moments of stress and just putting food on the table, the dream you once had of owning your own business seems like it's a million miles away and so unattainable. So if you can help them bridge that gap, you're breaking that cycle of poverty for generations to come. And do you think it helps that you came from that same background and that they listen to you more because of your experience in the shoes that you've walked in?
Absolutely. Before this, I was just doing mentoring, and I couldn't breathe in that setting, even though I was helping kids, but I just felt like, me being a parent, I was dealing with the same things. I needed to get to my parents. You can't, for me, if you want to see a change in your kid, you help the person that they have to go home to. And so with me coming in and dealing with the same, not having that same, I want to say it was more like that confidence. A lot of times our families in this community are not surrounded by, positive people, positive organizations. They're not surrounded by constant reinforcement. It's always, it's just the mentality. You just, you're in this area, it's a poverty area. So you are the product of your environment. I'm sure you heard of that line, and that's not true. It's how you how you change your mind. It's like changing your mindset. So for me, I was like, if I can get to my parents and say, what did I do to overcoming the negative lifestyle that I had to grow up in, to overcome that you're not going to be nothing because you come from nothing. Like, how can I get to my parents? And so I said, I would just start walking that walk. With 4 children, I have got my master's degree. I have shown my community that this is what it comes. This is who you could, you can come up and be the same way. You don't have to be stuck where you grew up in. So I go into a fantasy world. I encourage my parents, whatever information I got, I give it to them. We have those talks, like on my parent support group. We don't just talk about the same old thing. It's like, how can you overcome mental illness? Okay, let's talk about balance in your household. Let's talk about single parenting. Let's talk about, overcoming your obstacles. Let's talk about how you are, how important, changing your mindset is, where you can become something way bigger than what you think you are. That's the kind of conversations we're having with our parents. And it makes a difference, because a lot of people just don't want to talk about that because they're afraid that they can't relate. But me, I can talk about that because I've been in that. I have been a single parent before. I have been in a place where I was dealing with mental illness, and I just felt like I was just in a place where I could never get out of, because that's all I was surrounding my life in. So that's literally, it plays a difference, because our parents, they'll look at you and say, I went to school with her. She was right down the street from me. Or, I went to get some food stamps and I seen her getting food stamps too. Or, they see that and they can relate to me. And so that's why I use myself a lot in my cause. I use myself a lot in my case management. I tell them my story. I tell them where I've been. I talk a lot about my personal upbringing, because I want them to understand I've been in the same thing as you. I just look at it different. And they respect me for that, because they say, oh, well, she's been through that, then I can get out of that as well, because she went through it, And so that's just how it always works like that. Not saying that people who hasn't been in the same situation can't help, because they can, but it's a different approach that a lot of people just don't go off. We don't want you to be sympathizing, feel bad. We want you to help empower our parents. We want you to understand of why they respond certain ways. We want you to be patient with our parents. We want you to meet them where they are. And a lot of people just not willing to do that, because it takes a lot of work. I've dealt with parents who, outside looking in, they look like they're just perfectly fine, but they don't have the means to do better. So instead of me giving up on that parent, I'm going to go right where that parent is, and I'm going to help empower and build them up so that they can get where they need to be as parents.
Eisha Branner with us. She is the founder and CEO of E-Community Outreach Services, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Eisha, just another couple of minutes with you before we have to say goodbye today. Is there anything else that would be important for our audience to know, important for families that you support to know today, or any other information that we haven't touched on that you would like to speak about?
Partnerships. We are looking for partnerships with our families. Any resources that organization, an individual can bring to us, please reach out to us. We're really big on connecting our families with these resources to help them to be better parents in our community. And that's it. We're just here to support our families, honestly. In whatever ways you guys feel that you can come in and do that with us in a partnership way, we are open to that.
Eisha, you're such an inspiration to so many people. So we thank you for being with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Quickly, you mentioned that you need partnerships, but also if someone else out there is listening and they could maybe help, can you let us know exactly where they can find information about your organization?
Yes, they can find it at www.ecommunityoutreach.com, or they can email us at info@ecommunityoutreach.com as well, and we will get right back to them as soon as possible.
A facilitator of information and bringing people together and connecting them, which is so important right now during this crisis. And it's really important outside of the crisis as well, but now so more than ever before. And hopefully the good thing that comes out of this is we have new relationships that grow and we become a stronger community as we move forward in the crisis. Eisha Branner with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the founder and CEO of the E-Community Outreach Services located here in Pontiac. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Next up, we'll be switching the conversation up just a little bit and talking about businesses surviving the coronavirus crisis.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Caldoon. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
Thank you for tuning into the Monday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Tyler Keefe. You can catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you are on your remote surfing the TV, oh, people still do that? Surf?
I would say.
I don't know. I watch most things via the guide or on demand. Channel 15 on Comcast, channel 99 on AT&T. If you're out driving around, tune us into 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff on your radio dial. We also want to say thank you so much to the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce for being our Facebook partner of the day. They are live streaming today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. And as we enter into 7 months of this crisis, I would have to say so many businesses, the small businesses, are some of the ones hit hardest, and they are struggling right now. We are going to bring in now Bob Roberts. He is the president of Corktown Business Association. I remember when the first order was issued back in March. I was signed up to do the run there in Corktown. It's one of my favorite 5Ks to do. Corktown is it's a party on St. Patty's Day, to say the least. And when the state got shut down, I remember thinking there's no way that Corktown is not going to have a St. Patty's Day celebration. But it was shut down. What has it been like for Corktown to try to survive this?
Well, in addition to being president for the Business Association, I'm also a partner with McShane's Irish Pub, and we're right at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull there. So I speak both as a president and as a restaurateur. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, restaurants have probably been the most negatively affected by the shutdown and the just the pandemic in general, because we made it through the shutdown, and then we got reopened, and then we got 50% reopened, and then some of us that don't serve food got re-shut down. So we have several of our members that have actually been shut down since March 15th. So those members in particular are struggling, and quite frankly, there's several that probably will not ever reopen, which is very unfortunate.
And you think about the stories. I mean, these are not numbers. These are real people who put their life savings into starting these businesses, and out of their control, it was taken away. They're trying to struggle. Going forward, we're hearing now so much talk about this second surge, and the numbers are increasing each and every day. As a business owner and as the president of the Corktown Business Association, when you see the headlines and you see those numbers, does it cause you to panic and worry about if the state of Michigan gets shut down a second time?
Absolutely. So that's on the minds of small business people across the state, I'm sure. We watch the numbers every single day. We talk amongst ourselves. So all your small business people, we're planners, right? We look for the next holiday. We look for the next opportunity to promote, to market, to advertise. In my business here, we're always projecting out, not what's going to happen next week, but at least a 90-day. We do at least a 90-day projection on any of our marketing and big events or days coming up. So we're definitely big time planners in the small business realm, and just to, as you stated, to have zero control over your destiny at this point, after you've put blood, sweat, tears, your money, your relatives' money you've borrowed, put that into your business, and then be shut down and have no control over that, but also no real control over the immediate future. And your guess is as good as mine as to what the metric is used that would declare a second shutdown. Those metrics, whatever they're using, aren't shared with us, which is also somewhat frustrating that we don't have that ball or that carrot in front of us to know. It's just so open-ended as to what could trigger that second shutdown. So it's on the minds of small business people every second of every day right now.
Yeah, Bob Roberts with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the president, Corktown Business Association, but also a partner in McShane's, which is such a popular Irish pub there in the Corktown area. I think about out here in the suburbs, we have so many of the small restaurants as well. There has been a huge community push for people to buy local and to support our businesses so that you can remain open, or for the ones that closed, help bring you back. Have you been able to get any of the loans and the grants that have been offered by the government? Because while people see the headlines, they're not so easy to get.
They're not. They're not easy to get. We were fortunate that we did receive the PPP loan, the payroll protection loan in the beginning, which was a substantial amount of money for us. So that definitely helped. We did also. We were just granted, and have not received it yet, but granted one of the restart loans as well. Those are the only two loans that we applied for. I guess that I felt that we were in a little bit better situation than some of our other businesses, and so rather than apply for something that we really didn't need at the time, those are the only two loans that we've applied for so far. And luckily we're able to get both of them. And we just thought we'd leave the money out there for other smaller businesses that might be hurting a little bit more than we were.
That's very considerate of you, because when this first came out and you saw the headlines, so many of these really big companies and some of their CEOs that were making millions of dollars a year, when it came out that they got those loans over some of the small businesses such as yours, in which they were intended for. Not so good PR for some of those companies as their names were exposed. Some of them gave them back, not all of them. But like you said, you were looking out for some of the businesses that maybe hurt and needed that money a little bit more than yours. And with that, I think about St. Patty's Day. This happened right around, like you said, March 15th, right before the big St. Patty's Day celebration last year. As a business owner, and you said it's about planning in that next event and advertising, how much of your business and the businesses right there in Corktown are tied to that once a year St. Patrick's Day celebration?
Yeah, so there's several of our smaller, bars like, Corktown Tavern, the Gaelic League, comes to mind in particular, LJ's. That they really rely on that, and of course we're fortunate we get Parade Day and St. Patrick's Day in the same week, where we so we have a double celebration, and quite frankly there's many people that tell you that if it wasn't for those 2 days, that they really wouldn't be able to survive throughout the rest of the year. They use, it comes at a great time where they use that money to pay their taxes, pay for their liquor license, pay for their city Detroit business license, their personal property taxes, those types of things, and that kind of that's the shot in the arm that allows them to survive throughout the rest of the year. So losing those days, it was particularly detrimental to. Obviously to the state and to Detroit, but in particular to the Corktown community.
Bob Roberts with us. He's the president of the Corktown Business Association, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And Bob, with everything that has gone on and continues to go on that affects these businesses locally, particularly the restaurants, what does your organization and what are your organization's members currently doing to try to attract some customers in, or to promote the need for people to continue to patronize businesses, particularly small businesses in our local area, as the pandemic continues to bring new complications and even bring back some of the old complications over time as well?
Sure. So a lot of our businesses have pivoted in different ways. We have, as an example, Brooklyn Street Local. She has remained open, but her dining room because it is so small, shut down the entire time. And so what she started, Devery started to do is more of a home meal replacement plan, for local residents or anybody that would want to make the drive over to, to pick up complete reheatable meals. So that, that's one way that she pivoted. We have another small restaurant that actually pivoted into they installed a walk-up service window from the sidewalk, and then put in outdoor seating and a tent, and then really created a market, a fresh market inside what used to be her dining space. And again, she was doing the same thing where you could, call and pre-order meals. You could call and pre-order meals for the entire week. Plus, while you were there, you could, shop for some, fruits, vegetables, some really nice canned sauces. So you could get, some, some pasta and a jarred, still homemade but jarred sauce. So you can make a dinner. And so, she pivoted in that way. So there's been a lot of ingenuity with some of our people. The biggest thing that we're concerned about now, and again in particular for our restaurant members, is winter. Keeping our dining rooms at 50%, and then because of both the city and the state of Michigan initially both did a fabulous job with licensing temporary outdoor service areas, allowing us to serve liquor there. We have several streets that we have shut down. We have sidewalks that we shut down to allow outdoor seating. We have city parking spaces that we've been able to utilize for outdoor seating. Unfortunately, there's been a little bit of drag of the feet, both by the governor's office, the liquor control, and even now our city health department, in first off extending, because those areas are set to expire on November 30th. So we've asked that they extend those at least through the first quarter of 2021, those outdoor service areas. They have not done that yet. And then even equally as important is, of course, as restaurateurs, we want to tent and heat those areas. And we're equally running into some problem with our local health departments because of airflow inside the tents and whatnot, with them allowing these outdoor service areas to be tented. So we really need some assistance. The Michigan legislature wrote a joint meeting to the Liquor Control Commission expressing how important it is that we get these outdoor service areas extended and that the restaurateurs are allowed to tent. And they used a statistic that if that does not happen, it is their estimation that you will see about 4,000 restaurants close permanently and a loss of about 100,000 jobs.
Bob Roberts with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He is the president of Corktown Business Association and also a partner in McShane's Irish Pub in downtown Detroit. And with that, Bob, as we go into the winter months, the one thing, once the governor's executive powers were wiped away after the Supreme Court ruling, things did switch over to the health department, but we do have the legislators that are now trying to work together to try to get some of these new orders mandated. How much faith do you have in our elected politicians, especially the ones sitting in Lansing right now, making these decisions and making them in a timely manner that is going to help businesses such as yours and the others there in Corktown to keep your doors open come these harsh winter months? Because even if you're able to have a tent and close it with a heater, it's still going to be hard for people to linger out there for a long time, which we all know the longer people stay, the higher their bill is going to be. And so therefore that's going to have a direct impact on your bottom line.
Right. Yeah, so there was a survey that was done by Eater Detroit, and there was 63% of the respondents said that they would be more apt to eat in a tent outside still than to eat inside. So we still feel that the tents are an important part, or actually a vital part. Again, I have members that have tents or outdoor service areas currently that have said that if they're not allowed to continue with those outdoor service areas by tenting them, that they will actually have to close their business for the winter, and hope to be able to hold on long enough for the weather to change, and then hopefully have enough money to relaunch. So it's definitely, it's definitely going to be a deal breaker. Though there's, Bobcat Bonnie's is a good example. The only reason Bobcat Bonnie's reopened, we were allowed to reopen in June 7th. Bobcat Bonnie's did not open until I think around August, and the reason that they didn't open is because at 50%, the math just didn't make sense. So the only reason that they opened is because we were allowed to achieve a street closure for them, and they were allowed to, they were able to put up a tent and have one of those temporary outdoor service areas. So I can't stress enough how vital it is that we need, and the legislature actually has recognized it, and as I say, wrote a letter. We really need the Liquor Control Commission to extend these outdoor service areas at least until the end of the first quarter of 2021 to get us through the cold weather, and then hopefully we'll reevaluate that and see where we're at in the pandemic and whether or not we're still at the 50%. If so, we'd ask them to extend it indefinitely as long as we're at a reduced capacity.
Bob Roberts with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Let's hope for a very mild winter, and that you're able to get those adjustments that you need for the outdoor dining situations, because it is hard right now. There's a shortage of tents as well as heaters and things of that nature. So even if you get that extended, you're going to be running into those issues as well. But we wish you and all of the businesses there in Corktown the best of luck. It's such a favorite destination for so many people. Corktown is more than just a place to go for lunch or dinner. It's an experience, and it is the fabric of the community there in that corner of the city of Detroit. So, Bob, thank you for being with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and then we will round out the show just about over with Dave Dulio, one of our favorite professors here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi. My name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Just about 15 minutes left here in the Oakland County Megacast. Boy, these 2 hours really do fly by. Tyler, some good conversations, and always excited to have our next guest here with us on the Oakland County Megacast, because I will tell you, I want to say yesterday I was watching CBS Sunday Morning. That makes me old. Because I know it's a certain demographic, but I've come to love that show. And they were having a fascinating segment on the show about the 1876 presidential election between Hayes and Tilden. So you think the one we're going through right now is contentious? Not the first one, because I was watching that. And Dave Dulio, I have to tell you, if I had your number, I would have been calling you saying, are you watching this episode right now?
Too funny. I did not see it, but yeah, we often get distracted, I think, by the rhetoric, not from the candidates, but from the analysts and the observers, right, who always seem to tell us this election is the most negative in history or the most contentious in history. And it's not at all. If we go back to the 1860s and look at some of the things that were said about Abraham Lincoln, right, it makes the stuff that's said today pale in comparison.
Right. So with us here on the Oakland County Megacast, Dave Dulio. He is the professor of political science and the director of the Civic Center for Civic Engagement over there at Oakland University. When I watched that segment, it really kind of put a new perspective in what we were going through right now. And this is politics. It really is politics. And 8 days left.
Yep.
We just have to survive it, right?
Right. just over a week to go. We can make it. You know, I would normally say that, boy, that's going to be the end of it. But with the way things are going now, we don't know that for sure. We might be talking here in a couple weeks and still not know who won.
Yeah, I mean, that was the case with the Hayes-Tilden election. It was, weeks before they even declared who the winner was going to be. And then that's how the compromise of 1877 kind of grew out of the whole basic compromise. They said, okay, we're going to let you be president, but this is what's going to happen. And so it was an interesting and fascinating piece. It just kind of puts everything in perspective. You know, I saw something on Facebook. I want to bring up this thought with you because you are the political expert. Ryan Berman is up for re-election here in our district for the state house. And he had put out a post about some of the negative ads that were just outright lies. And one of the things they were saying is, like, if it was outside of politics, it would qualify for defamation and a libel. But yet, since things are said during a political campaign or the political season, it's accepted as politics. Is there any recourse for some of these candidates when the other side is making these negative ads that simply aren't true?
Well, that's right. It's folks who are engaged in an election or engaged in political speech often get a much longer leash, maybe as a way to think about it, than in other situations. And I'm certainly no attorney, and so I don't know where that line really is. But if there was recourse, somebody would have tried it by now, and we would have heard about those kinds of cases being developed. But you know, I guess I would say to your listeners and viewers that, you know, when you see an ad that is quote unquote attack piece, right, or a hit piece or a negative ad, look for evidence. Look for citations. And if there is a claim that is made that is unsubstantiated, it may be made up. It's in fact, it's likely that it's made up, or more likely that it's made up. But if it's got some evidence to it, if it's got a citation to it, look it up and check. Right? I mean, because a lot of times what we see are shreds of truth that are maybe taken out of context, or that are exaggerated. That's the word I'm looking for. Exaggerated in a mail piece or an email or on a television commercial, right? So look for that evidence and do some follow up on it.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about the area or the era that we live right now is technology is available to all of us. It's not like 1876. You can go on the internet and Google and try to pull up their voting record for our elected politicians. You can go online. It takes a little bit of work on your side to do the homework. And if anything comes out of this, my guess is people are pretty decided on who they are voting for president at this point in time. But there could be a lot of undecided voters out there when it comes to our local elections and our state elections, especially when you get down to your city council, your board of education, people of that nature in election, candidates on the lower level. So now is really the time, if you haven't already voted, now is the time to do that homework, and you can do it online.
That's a great point. And I would say a few things about that. One is that, yes, we are blessed to have all of this information that is accessible to us. But we're also cursed by that same information, right? I mean, there's always a concern about finding good quality information, right? And I would say, in addition, that those down ballot races, the ones for city council, school board, county commission, right? Those are arguably more important than the ones at the top of the ticket, simply because those local offices are the ones that are going to have an impact on our daily lives much more tangibly, right? And lastly, I would say too that for those local candidates, state house, school board, county commission, as we mentioned, it's often really hard for them to break through the clutter in a presidential year when all of the oxygen seems to be sucked up by Trump Biden or Peters James, right? And there's little room for those local level offices to communicate with voters. They sort of get lost in the shuffle.
Added to that, we're in the middle of a pandemic where they can't do normal campaigning of getting out, knocking on doors, shaking hands, kissing babies. How much of that do you think is going to impact the outcome of some of these elections? Because my guess, a lot of people are going to be voting straight party ticket.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing to watch, and when we see the results and to find out if there's been some significant increase in the number of voters who do use that straight party ticket option. I think that the pandemic has certainly had an impact on candidates and campaigns. I think for sure down the ballot in those local races, and I think the impact is felt probably more so by challengers than by incumbents, right? The incumbents are those folks that are in office and they're looking to get reelected, and they have advantages over their challenger opponents in two major ways. And not always, but in a lot of times, those incumbents have an advantage in name recognition. In other words, people know their name, they know who they are, they can at least recognize their name, and two, in funding, right? So you mentioned that during the pandemic, candidates maybe are less able to go door to door like they normally would have. Well, that really cuts down on their ability to make inroads with voters, communicate with voters, give voters a reason to vote for them over the incumbent, right? So that's where the name recognition plays in. And if incumbents have more name recognition than their challenger, the challengers don't have an opportunity to build that by going door to door. And if they don't have a big war chest, enough money to campaign non-door to door, they're just at another disadvantage over those incumbents.
Dave Dulio with us. He is the professor of political science and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. And Dave, with with the mail-in voting with the mail-in or absentee voting that is going on across Michigan and throughout the country, we're expecting more delayed results this year, even though there's going to be still significant voting at the polls as well. So on election night, the typical election night, which this certainly won't be this year, for those that will be watching the coverage or listening to the coverage or looking for those results, what do you suggest that they do on that night? Because there's gonna be more mudslinging this year probably than we've seen in the last several elections, as this information slowly but surely trickles in, and everybody on the ballot voting, whatever the case may be, gets a little more nervous about those that they support. What do you suggest for those of us that will be tuning in and will be watching this election unfold, as we always do, to navigate that in this particular election?
I'd say patience is of the utmost importance, right? And I think there was concern in Michigan over the maybe some delayed counting that might occur in the August 4th primary. And we didn't see it. The clerks across the state did a tremendous job and got all the absentees counted. Now, what's happening, or what's going to happen, and what's going to have to be counted next week is significantly higher than what was cast in terms of absentee ballots on August 4th. So it's going to take longer. We don't know if the clerks will be able to get them counted, and I think it's really important to focus on those high population areas like Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County, Kent County, right? The places where a lot of people live are going to be the toughest to count, just because there's more votes to count. So I think if we see, say, Oakland County start to have most of its vote counted, maybe we know sooner than we think. But I think the chances are in those high population areas that it won't all be counted on election night. So maybe folks just go to bed and wake up and on the 4th and see where we're at.
Just a couple more minutes with you here on the Oakland County Megacast. My phone has been blowing up with text messages encouraging me to vote. Who is behind these text messages? But not only that, all of the commercials that we're seeing right now telling us to get out to vote, to try to educate and inform us on how to vote. Why are we seeing more of that this election than previously? And who is behind it? Because that's some big money.
Well, it depends, right? I mean, sometimes it's the candidates, sometimes it's organizations, right, who tell us that they are nonpartisan, and maybe this is just the cynic in me, but a lot of times those nonpartisan groups really aren't. There are a lot of folks have agendas, and chances are they're trying to drive turnout among a particular segment of the population, right, that they think is going to advantage their favored candidate. So when we see certain organizations out there that are telling us, boy, get out and vote, make sure you get out and vote, think about who is being targeted with that message and try to see if there's maybe an agenda underlying that message.
I was totally thinking of you when I saw the commercial for the judges for the Michigan Supreme Court, and they said nonpartisan, and they were making that a big part of that commercial. As you reminded us the last time I think we spoke, is that they may be nonpartisan on the ballot, but there is a party that is nominating and pushing for them to get on the ballot.
Absolutely, and the way we choose judges in Michigan is odd in terms of comparison across the country, right? We do things a little differently here, and part of that is the fact that to get on the ballot, or for certain candidates to get on the ballot, they're nominated by a political party. There are 2 candidates for Michigan Supreme Court that were nominated by the Democratic Party and 2 that were nominated by the Republican Party. And they're almost running as a slate when they don't have to be.
30 seconds left. The last presidential debate. Any thoughts?
More traditional, more typical of what we usually see. and maybe we can say it was a breath of fresh air compared to the first one.
I will say, I was watching Fox 2 yesterday, their pre-game Lion show, and they were, I don't know, some haircut place, and one of the best costumes I've seen so far already before Halloween, a guy getting his haircut dressed as Pence with a fly on his head.
That's funny. That's a good one. I like it.
It was a great one. We could talk to you forever. We'll check in with you following the election. Dave Dulio with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Always informative. We appreciate your insight and your expertise as always. He is the professor of political science and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. I do encourage you to check out their Facebook page, Center for Civic Engagement, because they have some great talks on their Facebook page of some recent events that they've held. Always informative. Tyler, just like that, the day is over. So a great addition here on the Oakland County Megacast to kick off the week. Thank you, Tyler, but also a huge shout out also to Jake as well as Larry, our Zoom producer, for getting us on the air today, and Ryan for helping out last week as well when Larry was otherwise occupied with Motown Digital. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.